Hi, this is Doug Sperling. It's Thursday, August 8th, 4:30 Pacific time. This video is going to look a little bit at my techniques for drawing these lines, the Mexico, well, all lines. We're looking at Kansas City Southern of Mexico. I'm going to draw quickly an auxiliary main track of some kind um, that I don't have right now. It's this track right here. Um, so let's talk about. There's really four basic techniques that I'll talk about. The most obvious thing is right now we're looking straight down. We're not in the 3D view. Um, so I'm just going to draw. This is probably what most people mostly do. Um, it works best if you manipulate the zoom so that the track width is about the same as the cursor, that square cursor width. That seems to guide you a little better. So we'll get in a little closer, um, and just start clicking. So right now I'm drawing. This is, by the way, the command is it's either, well, never mind. It's this thing right here. Um, and then you have to be sure to choose path, not one of these other things. Um, so anyway, just start drawing and use the cursor thing to sort of guide you. And this can be pretty fast. And then because we are drawing a new line, you have this available. This meaning that while we're in the middle of the command drawing, I can move the cursor over here and click and hold, and it doesn't draw a new point for me. If I just click quickly like that, it draws a new point. If I click and hold, I can pan around. That's very useful. Um, and we'll see in a second that when you're editing an already built line, already drawn line, you don't have that functionality. So that's really, it's a bug or a feature or whatever in the software. I'm going to zoom in a little closer. Um, and you can see how hard it is to get this thing to come out nice. Um, okay, and that's about enough. Now I'm going to hit save, and we have the path right here. Now we're going to look at it. Well, before I do that, let's talk about a second technique which is, say you already have this line and you want to edit it or keep drawing it or whatever. So here's what that looks like in this orthogonal straight down view. You right click and say get info, and now you're editing. Um, and if you start clicking, you get that. But now we're at the edge of the picture, and if you want to pan, well, it's too bad you don't have that move over here and hold and press, because when you press and move, you get this garbage. So now if you just press and hold the delete key, it'll erase that stuff. If you press the delete key once, um, it looks like that. So anyway, that's two out of the four techniques. Now we're going to go in 3D view and look at this. You can get into 3D view. By the way, I'm on a MacBook Air. This is a like 2017, and that actually matters a lot. What computer you're on? I have a PC, and for some reason, it's not as good for this, for the techniques I'll show you in a minute, because its graphics card handles 3D space a little differently. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here. First, how to get into the 3D view. So the way you do that is either I'm going to watch the little hand, that's my cursor right now. I'm going to press and hold the center mouse button. And now if I press and hold the center mouse button and start moving it around, I'm in 3D space. And then And then if I let go of all that and type U, U I think meaning up, now we're back in straight down view. Um, the other way to get into the 3D view is to press and hold down the shift key, and then if you press and hold down the left mouse button, and then you can move around. So you can see right away one thing, which is I drew this against a different picture, the existing yellow lines here. And so we don't have good agreement because I drew to this picture, but these were drawn to a different picture, and it moved slightly. When this contractor right here, Airbus, that my cursor is circling, when they placed this image, they didn't place it right where the last contractor placed their image. So that's one thing. So we maybe want to edit this line. So now we're in 2D space, and I'm going to talk about our 3D space, and I'm going to talk about. We'll start with a fresh line first. So if I get right here, let's back up a little bit and talk about the accuracy and quality of the line. So you can see I mostly did pretty good here. Maybe off, so I'm going to right click, and now you can see it's your eye. To your eye, it'll look better if you do that, and maybe add another one here. So we're editing an existing line. I guess this will be the third out of the fourth. The four techniques. So you can add a line, scooch this over a little, add another vertex. And this is effective because we're looking straight down the line. Here, this is horrible. And this gets to be a problem because you can't see the tracks because there's a train there. So that's one of the features of life, drawing railroads. Now, really, what we want, if you look at this, it's slightly past the rail. So really, what we want is this. And so now I'm going to show you what I meant when I said the thing will just, if you start sort of up like this, and then I'm just going to scroll forward toward the point that I care about, as I move the mouse around, it sort of zooms in on the place, I'm sorry, where the cursor is. It sort of zooms in on that place. So if you back out a little and put the cursor up here, we'll sort of get where we want. And if I back out a little and put the cursor here, we don't get where we want. So you're it follows the cursor a little bit. And you have to just do it a lot, and you get used to that action. Anyway, you can see that as I keep scrolling along, we come down at a sort of lower altitude and closer to the track. And if you want to be, if you're editing a line and you want to be more like this, you have to get out of the edit. If you're already editing a drawn line, you have to get out of the edit. You have to stop and then use the cursor to manipulate. That's because when you're to manipulate the view, that's because when you're drawing a line like this, an already drawn line, and you try to manipulate the view, you put the cursor over here and you press down the shift key and you get this again, which is no good. So here, actually I'll just cancel out of that edit. So that's sort of the third of the four techniques. Now in 3D space, I'm going to start drawing a fresh line. And I'm going to do it like this. You can see here we're in the center of the track, and here, so the picture shifted when I drew, relative to the old picture. So I'm going to start drawing right here. And you can see sometimes the graphics card submerges the line beneath the terrain, but that's, you have to do stuff to get it back. So I'm going to start by matching up this line, and now as I flick the scroll button ahead a little bit, we get this effect, and it gives you pretty good control. This is what I usually do, And the reason I usually do it this way rather than editing a drawn line is because while I'm in the edit mode, without going out of edit mode, I can now do things like press the center mouse button and change the view, or I can hold down the shift key and change the view, and then I'm still in my edit. Or I can pan. Right now I'm just holding down the left mouse button and panning. And you can't, I just showed you that you can't, if you try that on a while you're editing a line that's already drawn, you get that squiggly, it just draws everywhere. It doesn't edit for you. So as you move the mouse button ahead a little bit, you get this. And now we're drawing. And this, like I said, is the way that I choose to do it most of the time. And here it's a little harder. If I went back and found the picture, and I do keep a record of that, I'll show you what it looks like. That's part of my metadata for these files. And you can see here, maybe I'm not getting it. I'm a little, so now I'm right-clicking, and that erases. I think I'm too far over the line. So here, let's just do this. Scooch it over a little. And there, it's like this. So I did this for, all of Mexico. So it's a lot of stuff. So now I'm going to hit save, and we'll be done with that. Now let's look at these lines critically. I drew these early on before I knew a lot of stuff, and so they could maybe benefit from a little correction. So now I right-clicked, and I've got the edit path thing going, and you can see that maybe we could, sharpen these up a little. And I would want to do this. I would want to go find the picture that I drew against originally, so that we're doing it, and I keep track of that. I'm going to show you that in 1 second. And take some of the edges off this. Here's the system right now that I'm using to keep track of this stuff. I have a bunch of rules for myself, and what I'm doing to keep track of which image I drew against is I have this thing called a datum diagram. It's more complicated around Mexico City, of course. And that tells me, when I need to add stuff or change stuff, what was the original image I drew against. And that's pretty important to get local agreement. Overall, at the system level or the map level, agreement's real good. And I test that by stationing. This is what I mean by stationing. If I draw a line, that has a distance or measurements, and those in this software, those are very accurate. I'm just going to go to feet because that gives me a higher level of precision. So when I draw these lines, all I mean by stationing is when I have a done line, I find some known points, like some control points, and then I compare that to my employee timetable information, and you have this distance. So say I discover that like a certain control point or a switch or something is at a certain spot in the picture, and I compare that distance to the map, and what I discover over and over is that it's very, very good. It's very close. Now in Mexico, of course, you're working in meters. So anyways, what I mean by stationing is I get the done line and I work backwards, and that just by right-clicking, and it erases points. So I copy the line, and then I find the by erasing points, I start at the end and go back toward the beginning by erasing stuff, and I find that it's super accurate. So at the system or map level, agreement is very, very good, often to within a couple of meters. And this is after drawing a line that goes from the ocean up and over a mountain range and then out across the desert, and I'll find I'm a couple of meters off. So it's very good. And I think those are all the techniques that you really need. I'm gonna show you some Western Pacific insights into this. I drew this the main line before I understood the value of drawing in 3D space. And so this line is old. It was drawn this way. It was drawn in 2D space looking down. Or, well, in 3D space, but in a 2D view, an orthogonal view looking down. And if we go in here and look at this line critically, we'll see some problems. The way to see them better is to right-click, select the object, right-click, and get info. And now the object is available for editing, and that means it gives you these red vertices. And so if we get in here close, this again, by the way, illustrates what I'm talking about. We're looking down at a somewhat steep angle, maybe 20 degrees. And as I put my cursor here where I want to go and keep moving, keep scrolling forward, now we're not lined up. So I'm going to move my cursor over here now and scroll. And now you can see we're looking more or less down the line. And you see some problems, like you see this one actually belongs there. And as you come along, you can see more instances of that. Like these, you know, should have been out here like this. Anyway, as you just scroll along and click, 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 here, let's just do it. Scroll, and you know, scroll a little bit, scroll, click, scroll, one click, one scroll, one click, one scroll, one click. You can see I get a result that doesn't have this wandering. So like that right there, that's, you know, the line wanders. And that's because I drew it looking straight down, because I didn't know yet that it actually, you get a lot of control in 3D space like this. So you can see these problems. You know, I would want this to be more like this. And you'll get this if you're in a 3D view. You can see that, like, that's a problem right there. That thing wanders to the right, and it really belongs more here, and it'll look better. It'll be like more true to the image. So that is the effect that I was talking about. Right now we're looking down at a steep angle, and I'm just going to scroll with the center mouse wheel. I'm just short little flicks, and you can see we're getting at a closer and closer to the ground, and at a shallower and shallower angle. You can see the angle changing. And now, right now, we get to about here, and it stops. We're not getting any closer, and the angle's not changing. So now it's stable, and if you draw, you can just keep scrolling forward. You know, draw, draw, draw. I'm not doing this carefully. I'm just, you know, here. Obviously, it's harder to do when you have a train on the tracks. It's actually quite challenging. One of the issues you have to remember is that as a train rounds a curve, if the satellite is not directly above the tracks, you get a parallax effect. So you have to remember that when you start the curve, you have to sort of look at the relationship between the tracks and the train. And then as you round the curve, if the satellite was not looking straight down, you're going to need to be in a different place relative to the tops of the cars. You'll need to be at a different place. You'll see this car is probably not directly above. It looks like this car, it looks like we're looking not straight down, but sort of from over here, so that the actual center of the track is not the same as the center of the cars. So that makes it challenging. Also, the fact that it changes. Here again is there's a egregious example of this thing is not in the center. And you can see that much better when you're drawing in 3D space, whereas in 2D space, it's much harder to it's much harder to get a nice agreement with the picture. And I think that sort of covers, I think that answers your question if I understand your question correctly. So cool, I'm going to stop this and thanks for watching.